Okay, cool. Okay, so, all right, so basically what I did was I made, wondering whether to ask people to speak more quietly, but I think they're going to disperse in a minute anyway. Okay, so I'm making sort of all of the parts of the to-do list that I need. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I'm making all of the parts of the to-do list that I need. So I started by making this tasks.js. I'm not quite done with that yet. What's that? I am. Thanks, Bree. Yeah, it's not a standard time, but if you could just just a little bit. Thank you. Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks, Bree. Okay. So now I can hold the space a little better. Okay. So now, all right. So basically, all I need is tasks. I need this add because I'm basically going to do what I started this morning. Those sort of 5 add tests that I started this morning. So I've got add, which I haven't done anything with yet. And then I've got this file io.js, which we'll talk in a minute why I did this. But even though that's not part of the spec, I decided that I wanted a helper file to deal with my IO, my input-output for the file. So we'll talk about this in a minute, but for now what I want to do is I want to complete my tasks file, and then I'll complete the add.js. You guys have seen it, but we'll you can watch me do it. So the reason I did this file IO is I wanted to have a function create file if needed. Why do you think, what are the advantages of having this in a function rather than just having the lines run barely, which was making Brittany a little tense this morning to have the lines run out of a function? Do you have a sense, Brittany, for why you didn't like it?
Well, the more I tweaked it, I realized it was because I had so many different instances where I would need to call it or see if it was there or reference it, and I think I ended up putting. Well, I don't know if I handled it correctly. I ended up putting in the task file.
Yeah. So the reason I like having it in a function is it can be reused if I need it to be. I actually don't think I'm going to reuse this one. This is like a create file if needed. I want to do this just once at the very beginning. It is testable if it is in a function. So I want to be able to test it, which is why I put it in a function. I also liked leaving all of my file IO in one file, because then any messing that I'm going to be doing with the file, what file I'm using, any messing I'm going to be doing with the file name or location can all be done just within this file, if this is the only file that reads or writes. Okay, that was a lot of word files, but I think you guys are with me. Okay, so now back in my tasks.js, I am going to, so notice that I required it. I exported it down here. I required it in here, and now I'm just going to run it. Okay. Cool. And now I have my switch command, and if it's add, it's going to take this add command that I required, and it will do that to the arg. And then otherwise, I'm like, forget it. I haven't implemented it yet. Everything okay so far? Yeah, Kelsey?
the arg is picking the fourth integer, the index. Where do you join it?
Yeah, notice that I didn't index it at 3 here. I sliced it, which means I want from the third element or from the third index on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can also slice saying I want from the third index to up to but not including the 6th index, but I just want it to the end. So yeah, good catch. You cannot call join on a string, but when I do the slice, I actually get an array and not a string. This allows people to put in tasks without quotes. Okay. Okay, so, all right, now let's implement add. And so add is basically going to, well, first I want to require, I want to get that write file. I want this write to file. I'm going to use that in add. Fair? Okay. And so now I'm going to say, I'm going to do something a little different just because I can. I actually don't love this style of programming. Notice that I'm making module.exports equal this anonymous function that I'm not even naming. I don't love this style, but you'll see it. Okay, and so now, yeah, they like, Airbnb likes this better. And fine, okay. So now I'm going to say, oh, so now I'm seeing that in file.io, I probably want read from file also. So I'm going to say const read from file return JSON dot parse read okay. So I'm just going to take whatever read file sync gives me, I'm going to JSON parse it, and I'm going to return it. Okay, so you're mad at a couple things. First of all, it's never used, but we can take care of that. Okay, so that was easy. Now what are you mad about? Oh, okay, so there's only one line, so it really wants me to do this. So I'll do what Airbnb wants because I've been trained. Okay, so cool. Brittany, is this not working for you, or are you cool? I just want to make sure that, okay. Okay, all right, so now we've got read from file. So here I'm going to do, I'm going to get both of them for 1. All right, and now I'm going to say read from file, and then tasks.push task. Oh, but we're making it into an object, right? So ID is tasks dot length +1. Although that's not going to work if you do all your deletes. Is that what that mouth was for? Okay, all right. We're going to ignore that for now. But I actually liked your solution of like storing how many tasks that you had, but I'm not going to do that for now. So for now, I'm just going to put, have you guys seen this before? To do when
What are the benefits of using file IO?
well, I'm going to use this read from file. I'm going to use it eventually in list and in delete and in whatever. And right now, the read from file, it's pretty simple, but it does have some complication. And if I ever change it, I want to make sure I change it in one place and not everywhere. The other thing is this is making my code more modular, meaning that I can test this separately than I can from how I test the add function. Good question. Okay, so I'm giving myself a to do because I don't want to deal with that right now. I want to name is going to be task, and completed is going to be false. Okay, fine. So for now, that's and eventually I'll improve this. I know I won't. But okay. And then I want to write tasks back to the file.
Makes everything so much
Okay, cool. Let's just see whether this works before we start testing, even though theoretically we should, but basically I just want to make sure what I really want to test is this add function, which I didn't name here, but it'll get named when I import it here or in my test file. And I just want to make sure right now that that things outside of the add function are working smoothly. Mostly all of this file IO stuff. So let's nope. Okay, create file if needed is not a function. Create file if needed. Looks like a function to me. Let's see if over here. Oh, I didn't put. It was the whole object. Yeah. Okay, let's try again. Okay. FD must be, I was having this problem before too about fstat. Let's I think fstat is not what I want. I actually think what I want is stat. Let me just, for now, I just want to try this. And if that doesn't work, then I'll start looking stuff up. Nope. Oh, there is no such file or directory. So I'm trying to stat it. So it looks like what this is doing is instead of returning false, this is throwing an error. So really what I want is I want to try this. Oh, except this is Python. It's really interesting to me when I fall back on Python. let's see, I think we do error like this. Okay, so let's try this instead. What's wrong here? Oh, you didn't like my double parentheses here. Okay. Unexpected. Okay, so somehow my my syntax for catch is wrong. So let me look up the try catch syntax. Try catch. Oh, okay, so catch just gets a function right after it. Okay. Now you happy? Nope. Thank you. Oh, now you made it even madder. Does not appear on the same. Oh, apparently they want me to do this. Is that right? And then there's a trailing space. Haha. Okay. All right. So try catch. Great. Okay, let's see whether this works. And if it does, I want to refine it somewhat more, but I'm just going to see whether it works. Let's look. Oh, okay. All right, so we're getting there. There are two things that I want. First of all, I thought I wrote a string in there. Fortunately, Adam is saving me. That was pretty terrible. Yeah, it totally is. Okay, so let's try that again. Nope. Okay. I feel like I'm not adding a I feel like I'm adding a string there and not an object. Is anybody like picking up quickly on why that's happening? Okay. So let's do some oh, I know why. Because over here in add.js, I'm writing tasks, and tasks is an object. I have to stringify it. It wasn't the empty brackets that was the problem. It was this line here. Now, okay, I mean, I could, in this write to file, I could actually take a JSON obj and do this here. Since I'm never going to be writing anything other than JSON. So I can, that's something that I could do. So that'll clean this up. And now I really can just put tasks here. Did you guys follow that, or was that? Okay, let's try again. Okay, better. You know what this percent highlighted thing means? There's no new line at the end of the line. It's like the file doesn't have a new line at the end. Okay, so cool. All right, so now this is working. One thing that I mentioned that I wanted to do here is that I now, if there is any error at all, I am just like making a new file and writing it. I might want to say instead, if error.code or error. Let's see what we got up here. No end. No end. We'll try this. No end. Then we're going to do this. Otherwise, we're just going to rethrow the error. Because something is, if it's not this, something is actually wrong. I don't just want to gloss over it. So let's try that again. So first I want to remove, then I want to do this. Okay, nothing happened. That's good. And then we'll see. Okay. All right. So now I feel a little better. Okay. Cool. And I can clean this up a little bit. This is very punctuation heavy and not like super easy to read. So I'll clean this up by using a ternary. And that just, no, yes, indeed I do. Wonder why it's complaining about that throw. I actually think that this is okay. Did I get my colon and my question mark mixed up? No. I'm gonna just argue with you a minute and see. Nope, it hates it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go back to. Oh, did I go back too far? Fine. Okay, I'll leave it at this for now. No, I don't love it. It's very. It feels like a waste of space. Okay. So. Okay, cool. So now I've got this working fairly well, right? Let's just make sure I can add another task. And well, adding another task didn't work that well, did it? So let's figure out what's wrong there. Yeah, I should be reading it. Let's look and see. So if I read from file and I'm returning all of this, let's just do a little bit of debugging here. Okay, it found what it was supposed to. And then I did a task.push. Oh no, this time it seemed to be okay.
Just go home again.
Yeah, but that's because it was getting my go home. So now if I do eat dinner, it'll do go home, go to sleep, because this is what it is before it adds, right? So I'm not sure what happened before, but I'm fairly satisfied that it's doing okay now. So it's a little upsetting. Yeah, that's all fine. And if I do the last command that started with these characters. So I can do again, and yep, there I am, petting Cisco. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. So now I'm fairly satisfied that my framework works. Which is what I just wanted to make sure, especially because of what happened this morning. I just wanted to make sure that like we were in good shape before we started doing other things for the test. Okay, so now let's start our tests. We're certainly going to need this, and we are also going to need chai. Although I had a conversation with Jeffrey at lunch, Jeffrey, the Phase 5 SEP, and he was like, I hate mocha and chai. I think all the problems with testing are mocha and chai. So, okay, so he thinks there's too much magic, and he likes like a more pared down. He uses tape. So, tape, you can look into it. I don't think mocha and chai are evil. Okay, so cool. So now we're going to do the describe, add, and then we're going to do the it, and oh, single quotes. Okay, and we'll do the it should be a function. And then, and we'll say it should return undefined. It should add, it should add a task when there are no tasks. And so actually I'm going to do context here, which we haven't talked about yet. But basically it's just another level of organization. So I'm just saying I want to do a context for no tasks exist, and it should add a task. It should display confirmation message, which I didn't do here. I think, what was the confirmation supposed to be? Let's look at the specs. Created task and then the task ID. So back here, and so now I'm actually going to take this man, if anybody leaves a quote unfinished, it's really your own fault. You can't blame the editor for that one. Okay, so fair enough. Template literal. Okay, cool. So back to test. So if we have a context where no tasks exist, then we'll do this, right? And then maybe we'll have another context where no deleted, let's see, other tasks, but none deleted, right? And we'll have these same two things in here. And then we'll have another context. And I would have to look more in Mocha to see whether I can do this without copying and pasting, whether I can do different contexts with the same its. Because copying and pasting should always make you feel a little dirty. Okay, other tasks with some deleted. Just to make sure that, we're doing the right thing in every case. So, okay, cool. Okay, so I think I've got a pretty good framework. You don't like that. Oh man, okay. We're gonna have to figure out where my, where I have, just for organizational purposes. Yeah, so I wanna do some tests where, where no tasks exist. I want to do some tests where other tasks exist, but there are none deleted yet, and some tasks where other tasks exist, but some are deleted. And the reason I want to do this one is because that's going to affect the ID, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing there.
Should our Mocha tests be this?
Yeah, make them as robust as you can.
So like for each function, it should have.
It depends on the function. Some of them you might have 20. Some of them you might only need 3. Almost always, you're going to have more test code than you have actual code.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay. So it should be a function. So, oh, right. So actually, it should be a function. It should return undefined. I don't have to worry about the file in these cases, so I'm just going to write them. Expect. Add to be a function. No, apparently you didn't like that one. Like so? Nope, hated that too. Okay, so back to the documentation. Oh, function needed quotes. Okay. Okay, good. So, all right, so let's just try for now. Let's see. Uh-oh. Oh, could not find module chai. I don't think I've installed Mocha and chai yet, so. Okay, cool. So let's try again. Okay, great. So I have 8 tests and they're all passing. Awesome. Oh, don't laugh. One of them actually has a test. Okay, so let's, so now let's expect, add a task to be undefined. No, okay. Let's see. So this is really how I do things. Try expect to be undefined. Expect undefined to be an undefined. Okay. To being undefined. Okay. Cool. Let's try that. 2 passing tests, and notice that it output created task 6. That's interesting. So now I need to worry about my no tasks exist, and now I need to worry about my data coming from a different place. All right, so now we're going to go back to this file.io, and instead of task file equaling task.json, I am going to, so here in package.json, notice that I already had this export node env equals test and mocha. It's a different name than I was using this morning. It's a better name than I was using this morning. This morning I was using like npm mode, and I would actually say node env instead. So now in file.io, I can say const task file equals if process.env.nodeenv is test, then I want it to be tasks test.json. Otherwise, I want it to be tasks.json. This process env node env is only going to equal test if I am running the tests. When I run my tests, if I use my script, I'm actually making that node env equal test. Process env is just getting us the environment variables as key value pairs. And this exists during the test, but before and after the test, if I look, oh, I have it as production right now. So if it's production, this is not going to be true. So this ternary is going to output tasks.json, and so task file is going to be tasks.json. Yeah.
Talk through what the JSON test is doing in the package in package.json.
Oh yeah. So here, when I run npm test, it's running this line. This line is saying first set an environment variable called node env to have the value test. And then run mocha.
And so you have to run, on the command line, you run npm test?
I run npm test. I do, yeah, and if I just run mocha, my environment variable of node env is not going to be test. So here's where it's important for me to run npm test and not just type mocha.
Can you do that? Can you set that environment variable from the shell?
You can, but then you would want to make sure that you unset it or set it differently when you were doing production. safer to do this. Yeah.
Should I refactor my code and create this file IO?
It's up to you, Brittany. You can try and work with your code as it is. For me, since I decided I was going to write my own code, I wanted to write it the best, like the way that made the most sense to me. Okay. Oh yes, this is good design as far as testing goes, for sure.
So when you run npm test and it sets an environmental variable, it's not just running test. It's like now that is the environment.
No, it actually is only the environmental variable for the duration of the test. So I actually ran here. Let's take a look at that. So here, so right now it's production, and now if I do npm test, it set it to be test, and then it ran Mocha. But if I look at it afterwards, it's production again. It's only Mocha for the duration of the test. I mean, it's only test for the duration of the test. Okay, cool. So now I'm setting this tasks test.json on my own. And do you know what? I do not need to run tasks.js in order to run create file if needed. Right? I can do that directly in my tests. And when I run add, and it runs write to file and read from file, when I require that file IO, it's going to set my file to be whatever it's supposed to be based on my environment. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of backing up a little.
Please.
You have the environmental variable there, NOD_ENV.
Oh.
And in the JSON, isn't it something else?
What do you mean?
Oh, maybe I just typed up that I have mode. I must have just.
Oh, yeah. Remember this morning I was using npm mode.
Right.
And
I mean,
yeah.
Is your JSON, does it still have that?
It might. My package.json. Let's look and see. No, this one has node env. Yeah. Yeah. No. Great. You keep me honest on the details, Kelsey. If I miss a detail, you call me on it, which is an absolutely wonderful characteristic in a programmer.
I figured out that I'm really literal. You say something,
yeah.
I'm gonna think that's the way it should be.
Yeah. But also, yeah, no. If I make mistakes up here, you catch them, which is really great. Yeah. Did you have other questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go back to test.js, and now in the context no tasks exist, I'm going to make a before. We haven't talked about this. But before, basically, it runs a function. And the function that I want to run is I wanted to create the file if needed. But actually, before I create the file if needed, I want to delete it. I just want to get rid of that file. Because remember how I was saying before that when you are running tests, you want to have absolutely predictable data. So I don't want to just create the file if needed. I want to obliterate it. So in fact, I might not even use create file if needed. I might just say, so no, I think I will use create file if needed. I'm going to do create file if needed. And then I'm also going to do delete file. No, I keep changing my mind because I haven't fully thought this through. I actually think I'm going to export the task file name from file IO. So basically this as a constant, we're used to exporting functions, but you can export constants also. You can export strings, which is basically what this is. I'm exporting this. And so now in my test file, I am going to just say fs dot okay, so fs unlink, and I'm going to guess there's an unlink sync too. I'm just guessing. Where did task file come from? It came from file IO.js. Why did I take it from there? Because I want to have only one place that's doing this work. Don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat code if possible. Okay, so let's go back to the test. And okay, so first I'm going to delete that file. Oh, I haven't required fs. The way you're supposed to do requires, by the way, is you're supposed to do like built-in modules before you do the ones that you've written. So first I'm going to delete it. And actually, I might make a little helper function just up here. It's not something I need to test. It's not something that I'm going to use. Actually, no, I take it back. Thanks for being patient. I hope, like all of this indecision isn't bothering you. I'm actually going to take this, and I'm going to call this initialize file. Okay, so now I have this initialized file that I can use in my tests. So let's go here, and I am going, and so then okay, I'll pause for a minute. Well, I'll try and catch my syntax error also. Okay. Did I not export it? It's so smart. That might be a problem too. Okay. All right, let me pause for a minute. Been doing a lot of stuff.
show the initialize file function?
Yeah, definitely. I can also send this stuff to you if you guys want. But initialize file, all I'm doing is and now I'm using initialize file here instead because I want, again, more modular means more testable. Also now I can use this. I don't have to repeat this in my test file. I can just use that initialize here. Okay. Okay. Before means it'll do it once before it does all the tests. I actually want it to do before each. I want it to reset the file before every it test. Oh, finally, we get to do add. Did I import add up here? I did. So I'm going to add new task. And now, once I do that, I'm going to expect. Well, then, you know what I really want to do is I want to read the file out again, right? So let's go back. Now, thank goodness for file IO, right? So now I'm going to read from file. Yeah. So now I get to read from the file. And I'm going to expect dot length. Okay, so here's actually, here's what I'm going to do. Before each of these, I'm going to delete the file. I'm going to create it with the empty array, and then I'm going to add a new task. And then it should have the new task in the file. Okay, great. So I'm going to read from file, or no. Let's see. It should have one task in the file. So I'm going to expect task.length to equal 1. Fair? See what we get so far. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's ooh, it didn't return undefined. I think that's because when I ran it here, I didn't actually initialize the file first. So the file didn't exist and it got pissy with me. So let's try that. Much better. Okay, cool. So now I would probably okay, there's only one. And if there's only one, then I can expect tasks 0.name to equal to equal task name. I don't need to because this is just a string. You need to use deep equal on objects and arrays. Strings, you don't need to use deep equal. Yeah, it doesn't seem to think so. So let me actually define it up here. You can, but they shouldn't. It should have the correct. Yeah, good catch. Not very informative, but it's legal. Okay, let's try this. Cool. All right, and it keeps on creating that task 1, bless its heart, right? Okay, then it just should display the confirmation message. So let's figure out, I don't know how to test that off the top of my head. Do you, Celeste?
I mean, there was, because I was testing it in a specific way, I could figure out by just testing the module.
Okay, so let's, how in Mocha to test function with a console log statement?
Yeah, I was.
Ooh, that's at a -5. Okay, they're like, we aren't even going to show you that. This is terrible. Ooh, it requires you to change production codes so the test can pass by. That actually is really terrible. Okay. Okay, we can use sign on. And everything suggested using sign on. That's a bummer. Okay. What's your solution? Is it seen on? I don't know. I've never seen it. Well, let's just ask Google. Oh, it's a GitHub issue. Sign on, sin on, seen on, please help. I'm going with sign on because of Wikipedia. I have a problem with this resolution. I'm sure developers everywhere are still debating this. You've hit on a hot button issue there, Bree. This is what Google Translate says it's seen on, but if Christian is pronouncing it sign on, maybe Christian might be the guy who wrote it. Who am I to argue? I rarely pronounce it in English. In Norwegian, I pronounce it as seen on. It's actually pronounced shine on. In the English, regular English, it's pronounced seen on. But if you were to say her name in the proper way in the Japanese language, oh my goodness. Okay. This has nothing to do with sword art. Okay. All right. Well, the guy who wrote it, oh no, although maybe not. Oh, Christian. Oh, yeah. So he's probably a pretty good authority. Sign on. Okay. I'm with you. Hey, Kelsey. Okay. Okay. So basically, the only way to do it is to use mocking. Oh, you had a different answer. What was that?
I forget the source of this, but just expect ST. Well, you make it a
standard out, huh?
Standard out. Expect ST.
Okay, so instead of console log, or yeah, let's. Okay. So Mocha. Okay, standard out. Ugh, look, sign on. Okay. Mocking standard out. This is you probably didn't do any mocking. Okay, tell me exactly what to type, please.
Expect standard out in parentheses.
Like that?
Yeah. Dot after the close parentheses, dot to, dot include, open parentheses, or deleted task, or whatever it is. I forget what they're doing. Whatever the message is supposed to be.
Yeah. Just as long as I'm here and it's easy. Okay, yeah, so created task. And actually, I'm going to put this up here as just so that, because I want to test the task ID here, and I want to test it.
Whenever that says stated out is not defined.
Oh, there's another part.
Ah.
You have to, well, I'm not sure if you're doing this above already, but in my solution, you have to execute. I'll just have to show you. Do exec.
Oh, yeah. So but that's different because that is actually running the tasks. That is actually running the tasks file. That's actually running like this tasks.js, which is not what I want to do with file.io. So here, especially because I have stuff to do before I go today, I'm going to say this needs sign on to stub. To stub. Okay, and I'm gonna leave it at that for now. And you can use your method and run the whole thing rather than just running the add function to test the output. Okay, but for now, let's see. All right, so I have a bunch of tasks. This is or a bunch of tests. This is great. I can use the same idea for that there are other tasks but none deleted by before each adding 2 tasks, right? And just checking on the second one. And this one, tasks with some deleted, my before each, I can add 3 tasks and delete the first one and see what happens, and make sure that when you add another one, it does the right thing, right? Or, delete the last one and make sure it does the right thing. You can even do more tests, right? There is a fine line. You do not want to go insane with your tests. You want to, you want to have a reasonable amount of coverage, but, you don't need to be like, if it's a full moon and somebody's hopping on one foot, And a good rule of thumb is you want to make sure that you are exercising every line of your code. Every if statement, make sure you're doing the either the positive or the negative case. And you also just want to think about edge cases or invalid inputs or, the user being bad, essentially.
So for this assignment,
yeah.
This is the last thing you have to do. Test file.
Yeah.
How much time should I spend? Should I roughly do 5 or 10 or 20 for each function? How many tests?
It's hard to give it a number because it's gonna be different. I'd say just work with it and see if you can develop sort of a feel for different situations, that might or might not work. Just and you have to kind of be a thinking person when you're designing the tests, in that how might this add function break, especially when I get to this to do, right? Well, first of all, things might be different if there are tasks in there versus if there aren't. So, I want to make sure about that. But then my to-do is going to have to, do some counting of you know, like I have to worry about deleted tasks. How am I going to deal with that? And, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, if some tasks are completed, that I'm doing the right thing. So I would actually encourage you to sort of play around with it. And if you have specific questions, to ask them, but it's hard to give a rule of thumb. In general, I would err on the side of being more thorough than less.
Okay. And then follow up on that, should I add sign on?
I don't think you, unless you want to. If you want to investigate it, I wholeheartedly encourage you to, but I don't think it's necessary.
Maybe just whether or not it's outputting successfully.
Yeah, you could take that test off, or you could test it in your, instead of in the add part, you could test it in the, you know, at some point you're going to test the whole tasks. And then you can do what Kelsey is doing, where you actually execute the task command, like you, yeah. So, okay. Cool. Okay. So I am going to stop this.